Hello, it's Dr. Osborne. So this is one of our first webinar that we're going to be doing this year, but it's one of, I think, going to be one of the most important for you personally. And the reason being is it's the question about supplementation. How do we get our body working right? Now, about 90% of Americans right now, the problem is we're deficient in something. Nutrients they're such a critical part of our biology, and if we don't have enough of them, our health just degrades. So the obvious question is that why do we need supplements? We know we've evolved for the last 200,000 years, and back at that time there was no Whole Foods, there was no supplement stores. You couldn't go out and buy vitamin D or vitamin C or green tea extract. We didn't even know what those things were. Yet, in spite of not having that knowledge, we somehow managed to survive. So from an evolutionary point of view, supplements are kind of irrelevant. But right now, we live so out of sync with our evolutionary biology that we need to really look at the facts about what's happening with our food supply right now and our nutrient levels that we're consuming. And that means that in our food and the nutrients in our bodies, and what is the consequences of that for our health. So I always say I don't think anybody needs supplements, but only under certain conditions. One is you have to hunt and gather your own food. Number two, you have to drink clean, pure water. Three, you have to have no chronic stress. You have to exercise all the time as part of your lifestyle. Five, you have to sleep 9 hours a night going to bed with the sun and waking with the sun. Six, you actually have to be exposed to no environmental insults or environmental stresses. Now, if that's you, then you don't need any supplements. But the rest of us, we should pretty much pay attention, because after almost 30 years of vigorously testing the nutritional status of my patients, I'm absolutely beyond shocked at the level of nutritional deficiencies that I've seen. I have practice members that are generally well off, but they understand that health and nutrition and they're trying to do the right thing. I don't see a lot of patients that are people that eat junk food and fast food and processed food. But then we have this increased nutrient need because we're under chronic stress because we're exposed to environmental toxins. I mean, think about this right now. There are 80,000 new chemicals introduced to the marketplace since the 1900s. I mean, our bodies have to deal with that stuff, and there's chemical reactions, there's detoxification. All of those things require nutrients. The other thing is that we're under a tremendous amount of psychological stress. I mean, we've noticed this just in the last 4 years on our daily basis. Your body, when you're under stress, it actually wastes magnesium. Think about that. So by being under stress, you're getting rid of one of a master nutrient like magnesium. When we think about omega-3s, right, we don't really eat wild food anymore. So maybe some fish, but that's got mercury in it also. So you see all these problems that happen because of our nutritional environment that we live in. So I guess the point of this is now more than ever, people like you, they just need a foundational nutritional support. And I would say that this is what this webinar is all about. So I think what we've done over the years is they've tested tens of thousands of patients, and I've tested thousands of patients. And what we've found is that 90% of Americans are deficient in something. And the major deficiencies, about 90% of the people in the United States right now are deficient in omega-3s. Over 50% are deficient in magnesium, probably about 20% in iron, 40% of adults and 70% of children are vitamin D deficient, and zinc is a 40% deficiency. So these are just some of the major deficiencies, but these key nutrients, they're absolutely essential for our biology, and each one has a lot of functions. So if you take a drug, let's say a statin, it basically has one action. It blocks an enzyme that produces cholesterol, HMGA. So it's a HMGA co-reductase, while blocking also CoQ10, which causes muscle damage and brain damage, but that's besides the point. Magnesium, in comparison, has over 300 different enzymes that it regulates. Zinc has the same thing, over 200 enzymes. See, all vitamins and minerals have multiple functions throughout the multiple part of our cellular physiology. And then if we don't have them, our cellular machinery, it can't do what it's supposed to do. And that's where disease comes. See, 1/3 of our whole DNA, our entire DNA, it codes for what are called enzymes. And enzymes are basically these catalysts, these things that change one chemical to another chemical in your body, and so it can actually do what it's supposed to do. And an example would be like oil converting to gasoline. So if 1/3 of our entire DNA code codes for enzymes, then it's pretty important. So what do enzymes need to work? They need coenzymes or cofactors, which are vitamins and minerals. So they have this little key that goes in the enzyme and turns it on. So an example of this would be to make something called tryptophan, which turns into serotonin, which is your happy mood chemical. You take that amino acid that you're eating from tryptophan, which comes from foods like protein or turkey, that has to get converted into serotonin. Well, that actually requires vitamin B6. So there's an enzyme on your thyroid also that in order for that thyroid gland to actually make the active form of thyroid hormone T3, you have an enzyme that actually requires a nutrient called selenium. So if you don't have selenium, it can't work, and then you have a thyroid issue. See, taking vitamins one at a time and trying to plug holes in the dike, it just doesn't work. Michael Jordan, arguably the best basketball player in history. If you put him on the court by himself, he couldn't win a single game against another team that had actually a full team. You have to have a full team, and nutrients work as a team. And if you don't have all of them, well, the biochemistry just gets gummed up, and it can actually cause worse problems. And that's where most people are having challenges. They're trying to take a supplement to fix a problem rather than getting their body right. Okay, Dr. Osborne, I'm fine, but I'm healthy, so do I actually need to take supplements? Well, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, what is healthy? What does healthy mean? Does it mean that I'm not on any medications, I'm not grossly overweight? My definition of health is actually somebody that has amazing energy, somebody that has great sleep, no inflammation in the body. They have great digestion. They go to the bathroom twice a day. They have great adrenal glands, and every organ and cell in the body is working at its optimum level. How many people do you guys know like that? I haven't found anyone like that. So we have to face the truth. We all have body issues going on. And here we're all in a state of breaking down if we don't have the nutrients that we need. So if your health is really perfect, then maybe you actually don't need to supplement. But even then, it's just difficult to get to the food that has all the nutrients because the soils are so darn depleted. The other thing that's important is it's not just about the nutrients, but it's your history. Your history has a lot to do with your health condition. Or your current health. So if in the past you've eaten a lot of depleted junk food, processed foods, you're going to need to take supplements to support the weak links that you created that are currently causing the problems in your digestion and in your adrenal glands there, so you can actually absorb the nutrients. So what if you have inflammatory conditions such as chronic sleep issues, or you've been in a bad marriage for 10 years, or you're just stressed out from COVID? Your adrenals are going to need some support, and when you're under stress, you get rid of a lot of your minerals and a lot of your nutrients. You're going to have to add supplements. You also have to factor in things that are in our outside environment, right? We talked about this a second earlier, but we live in a chemical environment, and every year there's new chemicals in the environment, and you're constantly being exposed to what's going to happen. You're constantly going to be exposed, and what's going to happen is it's going to mess up your endocrine system and your liver, and this is going to prevent you from absorbing nutrients, and nutrients, especially phytonutrients, that are actually there to dismantle and clean up all this garbage. But if you're not consuming enough cruciferous vegetables, like your green leafy vegetables, you're not going to be able to extract those poisons from your body, and then you become toxic and even more deficient. The problem is, as human beings, we base our health on how we feel. And so we go from no symptoms to sick to dead, and we wonder what happened. The purpose of supplements is to support these weak links. And instead of just providing you nutrients, it's not about the nutrients, it's about the links that you need to have so everything works together. You should get your nutrients from the foods you eat. When you support the weak links, it helps you absorb the nutrients that you already are getting from your diet. If you'd like a copy of our Advanced Cellular Healing Plan, just text the word ADVANCED to the office. That's 408-985-1111, or just leave a comment down below. One final time to answer the question, is supplementation a necessity? There's recent evidence from the Journal of the American Medical Association and also the British Medical Journal. And I love this. It says, their conclusion is if you don't supplement your diet, right, today, not tomorrow or yesterday, you are guaranteed to get a chronic degenerative disease later in life. Guaranteed: heart disease, cancer, diabetes, arthritis. So this means that if you supplement, you reduce your risk of this. Does that make sense? The healthy body is directly dependent on healthy cells. So you're only as healthy as your cells are. We're not talking about symptoms here, but you have to remember you have 70 trillion cells in your body, and each cell has to take in nutrients, produce proteins, eliminate waste products. So if you have healthy cells, guess what you do? You reverse disease. So your health, your body, is directly dependent on the cells, the health of your cells. The problem is, if you don't get healthy products into those cells, then you get an unhealthy body. So healthy cells equal healthy body. You understand how to get healthy now, right? So does that make sense? So now the tough part is that our soil is completely depleted, right? And you guys have heard about this, and this is a tough part because there's hundreds of minerals in the soil. And we've taken up in the United States what we call the European farming method. We no longer have these rich nutrient valleys where the minerals are washed down off the mountains and the decay runs off the mountains into the valley. But what's worse is we've actually dammed up all the rivers also. So now even the valleys are getting nutrient deficient because we're trying to control the floodplains. So the solution is to make plants now grow using things like nitrogen and phosphate and potassium. Well, these are 3 minerals we're adding to our soil, but your body needs 74 minerals. So I'm sorry, but we're adding how many minerals? We're only adding 3. So 3 and your body needs 74. Does it make sense why we're having so many issues? So I don't care if you're eating the best organic, rich whole foods, whatever your mineral, you're basically mineral deficient. So how long have they known this? Well, in 1936. So we're talking about almost 90 years ago, they started warning that our farm soils are severely depleted. And laboratory tests, they prove that our fruits and our vegetables and our grains and our eggs and our meat today are not what they were a few generations ago. I'm sorry, this was 90 years ago. No man today, no woman today can eat enough fruits and vegetables to supply his stomach with the minerals that he requires for perfect health, because your stomach just isn't big enough to hold all of it. So 90 years ago, we knew that our soil was being depleted, and we knew that they were warning us that cancer was going to be the result of this. And this means that the foods that you're getting, like I said, even if they're super organic and healthy, they're depleted of minerals. They're depleted of nutrients. They're not even healthy plants. They might look healthy, but they're not. So look, supplementation is not going to replace a healthy diet and lifestyle. Never in a million years. Many times doctors will say they just create expensive urine. It's just a waste of time. Well, you're going to get everything you need from the food that you eat. That's just not true. Look, you're not going to get everything from the food you eat, but when we're talking about expensive urine, if that philosophy was true, then you shouldn't drink any water because it just comes out of pee, right? So why bother drinking water at all? Look, your body's intelligent. It takes in what it needs and it lets go of the rest, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. Kind of seems silly to me that you want to take a mother, right? Nutrients are important to a mother to take a prenatal vitamin to help this baby grow to a healthy baby with a healthy baby brain, but we're not even recommending anything for that child afterwards. It's kind of crazy, right? And then that's just the way that our society thinks. You know, we're fine until we're not. Some people will say, oh no, don't worry about vitamins. They're not really needed. Well, have you ever looked at the back of a label on a product and you looked at some of the nutrients? Why would they put these numbers on the back? Think about it. Like if supplements weren't, the nutrients weren't important, why would you actually have to have them on the back? It'll say something like 2% of the RDA for vitamin A or vitamin B, etc. But do you realize that the RDAs, right, that you're basing your health on are just the average numbers to potentially prevent a deficiency in healthy people? So if our food is grown on crappy soil, or even hydroponically where they're just adding in 15 minerals, how can someone say that we have enough nutrients? And then you have the factor of genetics. We have genes that sometimes can interfere with our ability to absorb a vitamin. There are genes like MTHFR that interferes with you absorbing and utilizing B vitamins. Look, the point is this. There's a lot of barriers that these nutrients go that nutrients go through in our body, from absorption, from genetics, and just not even getting the needed amount. What if you exercise a lot like I do, yet guess what? You'll be deficient in vitamin C and glutathione like me. Why? Because I exercise a lot. And my body uses those things to repair damage. And then when we get to the other number of nutrients that are not necessarily vitamins, like things like the omega-3 fatty acids, specifically DHA, which is an anti-inflammatory, if you're consuming all of the seed oils like the Crisco, I mean not the Crisco, but the cottonseed oil and the safflower oil or canola oil, it's going to block the absorption of omega fatty acids. And then we also have things like potassium, for example. The requirements for potassium are 4,700 milligrams. You would have to consume more spinach, like I said, than your stomach could even imagine handling there. And then we look at something like folate. There's been studies showing that if you're deficient of folate, it's going to mimic the same damage to your DNA as radiation can cause to your DNA. Think about that. And then some say, then there's people that are vegans, and they're thinking, well, they're getting all their vitamin A because they eat a lot of carrots. Look, your body is supposed to eat in variety. Getting a lot of beta-carotene from carrots is a good idea, but you have to realize that beta-carotene is a precursor. It's not the active form of vitamin A, which is like retinol, which is very high in things like egg yolks. But you would have to consume an absolutely tremendous amount of carrots. I think I read somewhere it was like 45 pounds of carrots to get enough vitamin A for one day. You might be eating things like walnuts to get your omegas, but do they have linoleic acid? That's the precursor, right? That's not the active form, and it has to be converted into EPA and DHA. And you have to consume a lot of walnuts for that to actually happen. So I'm not picking on the vegan diet right now. I'm just saying that if you do a vegan diet, you have to absolutely make sure that you take supplements to do so. So number one, we do need nutrition. If we can be in agreement on that, that's the foundation. Number two, I don't think we're getting enough of the right nutrition. And number three, the supplements that are sold out there sometimes might not actually give you the type of vitamin that you need, because for the most part, most of them are synthetic. And from my viewpoint, synthetic vitamins, well, it's just like anything else. They shouldn't be taken on a regular basis for increasing your health. And the reason I'm bringing this up is it's been estimated that 98% of all vitamins out there are made synthetically. So here's the question. Are these vitamins the same, these synthetic vitamins the same as natural vitamins? Well, the answer is just plain no. Absolutely not. Just because it's similar does not make it the same, right? That's like saying artificial flavoring is exactly the same as natural flavoring. It's not. 90% of all the vitamin C right now on the market that we take, and you get the little fizzes when you get a cold, it's made from cornstarch and sulfuric acid. It doesn't even come from plants. And think about this, the actual form of synthetic of a synthetic vitamin versus a natural vitamin is completely different. When they go into your body, like they go in like a key in a lock, and it's just not going to fit. So a good portion of that vitamin is actually going to be wasted. So the absorption rate or the bioavailability of synthetic vitamins can be lower. And this is why you see synthetic vitamins in the store with massive amounts of like 11,000% of the RDA, which is a lot that's passing through out into your urine unless it's fat soluble, and that's when we have a problem. See, synthetic vitamins, you don't have all the cofactors that normally come with a vitamin in nature. Vitamins in nature, they're complexes. They have a lot of helper molecules. I read once that there's like 10,000 different molecules in nutrients in a tomato. They don't come in this industrialized, isolated, fractionated part. They come in this synergistic, beautiful complex of a lot of parts that all work together for the health of you. Now, the other really big problem with the synthetic vitamin is that they have a lot of residual traces of some of the solvents and chemical compounds that they in the manufacturing process, like chloroform and petroleum acetate, and things like glyphosate, which is a herbicide, or hexane, which is a solvent. But in nature, you're not going to find that. Now, the thing with vitamins is that they come in, but like I said, both fat soluble and water soluble forms. So if you took a high amount of water-soluble synthetic vitamins, the extra is just going to be eliminated through your kidneys and there wouldn't be an issue. But if it's a fat-soluble vitamin, it's not going to be eliminated very easily. It's going to get stuck in your fat cells, and that's why there's some major side effects when you start taking some of these synthetic fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, D, E, and K. So imagine if a mother is taking a synthetic vitamin A. What they do know is that there's a risk for the child having a birth defect. That means it's damaging the DNA. There's data on synthetic vitamin E with premature death, and then folic acid, which is different than the natural version of folate. They find that it increases your risk of getting cancer. And then you have vitamin C. And I'm talking about ascorbic acid. There's a study that shows that the ascorbic acid actually decreases the muscle mitochondria, or the powerhouses in your cells, that create biogenesis or life. So you're going to make less mitochondria, and you're going to have less less energy. Now, the thing with synthetic vitamins, they add a lot of additional things in there. They'll add additives, they'll add preservatives, they'll add flavorings and colorings. Just let me read you the list of the ingredient list, right? I was looking at one. It's one of the highest selling synthetic multivitamins on the market, and a couple of things that it said. It has modified cornstarch. I don't know why they put that modified cornstarch in there. It has maltodextrin, which is a sugar. It has vitamin A acetate, right, which is synthetic. And then they add things like yellow, number 6, as a coloring agent. And then some of the minerals are in an oxide form, which are not the best absorbed. You want your plant-based minerals. You want your minerals to come from plants, because they're absorbed a lot better. And then they add something in there like calcium carbonate. And think about this. That's Tums, right? That's what you take when you have heartburn. Tums is basically rocks. So you see, especially with the B vitamins, like B1 and B2, they make it from coal tar and acetone and ammonia versus the natural version, which comes from garlic and organ nutritional use. Vitamin B2 could be from holy basil, and vitamin A could be from cod liver oil. But the problem is, with natural vitamins, it's more difficult to extract. It's much more expensive, but you need a lot less of it because it's more bioavailable, and it's actually food sources that your body has designed over generations to absorb, and it has a lot less side effects. So I think one way to identify synthetic vitamins is to look at the RDA on the back of the label. If it's in incredibly high amounts, it's probably synthetic. Now, if you look at your biochemistry, in order for it to work, like I told you earlier, you have to have these cofactors. And that's the vitamins and minerals that allow the chemical reactions to go from one point to the next and create this biochemistry. And they're very, very, very essential. And then the neat thing is that there's now testing out there called metabolomics that actually allows you to look at those cofactors and to dig deep down and to visualize what's happening with these chemical pathways. We've been doing this testing in the office for almost a decade now, because it works so well to get to some of the root causes of problems. One of the other challenges in the field of supplements is that you have a lot of large companies that own a good majority of the supplement industry, which I believe has a huge interest in making big profits. So in other words, when you buy synthetic B1, for example, versus natural B1, it's incredibly cheap. And then you hear these claims that, well, there's no difference between synthetic and natural. Look, they're both the same molecules. They work the same. I don't think so. 2/3 of all vitamins right now, they come from China, and those are purely synthetic. They're made in a lab. Now, even if it says it's on the label made in the USA, which means that put together in the USA, it doesn't have to come from the USA. It's not sourced from the USA. They just put it in the pill container and then put it out on the assembly line. Where does that raw material come from? For the most part, it comes from overseas. And my viewpoint is this: would you rather have a drug company selling supplements to you, a large junk food company selling supplements to you, a marketer selling supplements to you, when there's actually no individual name behind the brand? I mean, check out these brands. Things like Nestle. If you guys have heard of Nestle, and Pfizer, Clorox, Procter and Gamble. And then there's private equity firms like Blackstone, and there's pharmaceutical companies that own, like Nature Labs. There's a global investment firm called KKR that owns them. Then you have Kirkland, which is owned by Costco. Look, these companies have tried to gain a monopoly over the supplement industry by simply buying up supplement brands over time. Nestle, for example, has acquired like a great brand, which I don't know what they're doing now, but Garden of Life, right? Vital Proteins they own. They own Noon, and they own a company called Pure Encapsulations, Wobazyme, Douglas Laboratories, Personal Nutrition, Clean Athlete, and Bountiful. Look, in all, like, there's 14 major mega corporations. Many of them own more than 100 of the most popular supplement brands on the market today. So how do you know what supplements to take, and how do you know which brands to trust? Are you really getting what it says in the bottle when you browse? You go to the supermarket and browse your local grocery store, or your local pharmacy, right? Or your local big box where they have them on the shelf. Is the cheapest the best alternative? And I always say you get what you pay for. I mean, aren't all vitamins the same? And hopefully by now you realize that's not the truth. Much like the rest of the groceries that you buy, vitamin brands can vary significantly in both quality and price. The quality of the ingredients, the quality of the supplements, they can, you know, I always like to use an example, right? Like many food products are not good for you. For example, how many of us would go out and buy off-brand hot dogs, right? Which are required to be monitored by the FDA to accurately list their ingredients on the label, but it doesn't mean those hot dogs are healthy. In fact, I hope you understand this, they contain a lot of questionable ingredients, much like generic supplements, which aren't regulated by the FDA. And it gets worse. Generic supplements are made to undercut the quality brands that cost more, right? They want to sell more, so they cut their rates so they can sell more. They'll do anything to be able to keep their prices low. Sometimes they add prohibited and harmful substances to their supplements, knowing that the FDA, they just don't have the resources to control every batch of vitamins that they produce. You know, generic supplements are made to be cheap. They're supposed to be a cheap alternative, and they're not literally designed as a product for optimal nutritional support. And so shoppers who really want to maximize their daily nutrition, they shouldn't waste their cash, right? Your money is important, or more important, risking your health on low quality supplements. Bioavailability, manufacturing standards, and additives all affect your ability to benefit from your vitamins. And choosing cheap supplements, like I said, is like opting for the $1.99 pack of cheap hot dogs instead of the high quality pasture-raised grass-fed steak. You're going to have problems. So when it comes to providing your body with the vitamins and the minerals and the nutrients you need to live well, well, you just don't want to choose the hot dog of supplements. Don't buy your drugs at the drugstore. I mean, don't buy your supplements at the drugstore. Don't buy them at the grocery store. Many generic vitamins contain magnesium oxide along with other other forms of vitamins and minerals. And while these supplements are cheaper, they may not deliver the nutrition that you need. They'll probably even upset your stomach. It can be common to find ineffective ingredients in generic supplements. While these supplements are going to be cheaper, they might not be delivering the nutrition that you need. And the other thing about generic supplements, they're made with forms of active ingredients that your body can't absorb. So a capsule may contain 100% of your daily magnesium, but the problem is that your body is not going to be able to absorb about 10% of that nutrition. So even if the product contains a good nutrient source, poor quality control with its tableting and the packaging can mean that it would just basically, it couldn't properly integrate into your stomach. I see a lot of supplements on X-ray actually, bad supplements that don't break down. People just poop them out. It's much wiser to pay $20 for vitamins with 80% bioavailability than $10 for vitamins with 20% availability. Okay, so you also can't use the daily value on the supplement label as a gauge for how much of a nutrient your body will receive either. It's completely possible for generic supplements to say that a capsule contains 1,000% of your daily vitamin C. Technically, legally, the supplement might contain that much. However, your body may only be able to absorb a fraction of the nutrient, depending on the method of delivery. See, generic vitamins, they usually use cheap fillers that they're things that will actually affect nutritional values. They'll use glazes. They'll use cheap magnesium like magnesium stearate. They use GMOs. Some contain even potentially toxic additives like heavy metals, leads, and mercury. So the thing is do you know how or where your vitamins are made? Are the facilities clean? Whose ungloved hands were touching them? Poor manufacturing processes. Those things are going to lead to contamination of your vitamins and an unreliable concentration of active ingredients. So while the FDA requires certain good manufacturing processes, the GMPs in the supplement, it doesn't actually require that to actually be made in GMP certified facilities. So they require the certification, but it doesn't require it to be made in those facilities. And so without this important certification, which our supplements have, it's difficult to know how your vitamins are being produced, handled, packaged, and stored. So the other last thing I want to say is like high quality supplements like our Pure Path and our Max Living brands. We have 6 different certifications. They're formulated by nutritionists. They're formulated by food scientists using the up-to-date scientific research. They contain nutrient concentrations in forms that are easy for your body to digest, easy for your body to absorb. And these supplements are made with a focus on one thing, and that's quality. And the second thing is efficiency. Most important is that we're constantly researching and upgrading. We constantly are changing our formulations when the newest research comes out. We're not beholden to anybody, the big box store. We want to make the very best available to you. However, the supplement industry brings in billions of dollars a year. So it's very profitable for big box store brands to undercut the quality of products to just make a buck. Their aim is not to create a nutritious product based on science, but to cash in on the vitamin market. Think of it this way. Buyers for the big box store, they buy everything from socks to furniture. Do you really think they know what's best for you when it comes to your health and nutrition? Does Costco know what's best for you when it comes to your health and nutrition? Walmart, Walgreens. So without without experts and research, their cost is so much lower. But what happens to the quality of the final product? The results are unpleasant. Some brands boost concentration of vitamins in order to inflate their perceived value and to win a perceived horsepower race with you. But taking too much of a vitamin, it can cause side effects like an upset stomach, headaches, or even toxic side effects. Others use cheap ingredients that can make you feel sick or render the nutrition ineffective. There was a study, I think it was back in 2019, and they found that more than half of supplements, including botanicals, were actually mislabeled. 50% were mislabeled. And another study in 2022 found that an estimated 30% contained toxic or banned ingredients. There was another study that reported that almost 60%, 59% of tested supplements contained items not even listed on the label. And additionally, they had their active ingredient substitution, just changing an ingredient that wasn't in there, was observed in almost 83% of companies tested. So let's talk about what you need. So the most important thing is food is your best source of nutrients. But with soil and soil health declining, many people are not even eating an ideal diet. Multivitamins are probably the first thing that you should do that might help address the gap. This is particularly true for adults age 60 and over. There was a large study about the effects of multivitamins, something simple, but think about this, cognitive function, the way you think. They found that supplements have the potential to improve your memory. just by ungumming the machinery, right? Results showed when they looked at the study that when they just took a multivitamin, they had better immediate recall at the first year point, which is maintained after follow-up. And what they found was just by taking one supplement, a multivitamin, and I don't even know if it was a good one, it was 3.1 years of age-related memory change. That means they got their memory for another 3 years. This is also the same thing that happens in people with cardiovascular disease that have lower micronutrient levels. They actually find that older adults it's absolutely mandatory they take a multi because they're going to be predisposed to deficiencies and inadequacies because what happens is your digestive system shuts down as we get older. The absorption declines with age. Our pH in our stomach changes. And that's where we start to use certain medications and they damage the gut wall. And the gut contributes to, when that's damaged, you don't have the same, you get nutrient deficiencies. They took one study when they took a multivitamin and a multimineral, while the other half took like just a placebo. And they did that for 6 months. What was interesting, the multivitamin group had improved biomarkers of nutrition, while the placebo group did not at all. It makes sense, right? Like if you do the right thing, you're going to get the right result. In fact, the nutrition biomarkers actually fell in the placebo participants, which suggested that the food alone was not enough to keep their vitamin levels up. They were both eating the same diet. So the unfortunate truth about many of the supplements you might find, like I said, on the grocery store and the drugstore shelves, they don't require that they go under the same FDA test for safety and effectiveness as prescription drugs. In fact, the FDA only tests about 1% of the 65,000 dietary supplements that are on the market right now. And why is that? Well, why is it critical to use? It's because that's why we do what we do. That's why it's critical to use pharmaceutical grade whole food vitamins. That's why you want to find a company that tests themselves, because the FDA is not going to test you. Look, 31% of the population is at risk of a vitamin deficiency. 1 in 3 Americans are deficient in at least 10 minerals, putting them at a risk of like chronic diseases such as heart disease and diabetes. And even at a subclinical level, being deficient in vitamins and minerals can cause a huge range of symptoms, including things like fatigue, like how many people are tired, irritability, just the aches and pains. We call that getting old, but it's a deficiency in vitamins and minerals. Decreased immune function, right? Heart palpitations. Like it's critical that everyone takes a multivitamin. My next favorite vitamin, and probably my favorite vitamin overall, is vitamin D. And it's estimated that 85% of people have insufficient levels of vitamin D, and they're just not aware of their deficient state. So while the conventional media and the medicine, they promote the sun avoidance, the problem with that is that you can actually put your health in grave danger by avoiding the sun and causing vitamin D deficiency. There's a growing body of evidence right now that shows that vitamin D plays a crucial role in disease prevention and maintaining optimal health. There's about 30,000 genes in your body, and vitamin D affects almost 10% of about 3,000 of them. As well as the vitamin D receptors are located at virtually every single cell in your body. According to there was one large-scale study that if people just got their vitamin D levels up at the correct level, you could slash your risk of cancer by as much as 60%. Keeping those levels optimized can prevent at least, I think there was I read somewhere, about 16 different types of cancer, including pancreatic, lung, ovarian, prostate, skin cancers. More importantly, vitamin D builds defenses against cancer. So it enhances the destruction of mutated cells. And these are the cells that can replicate and cause cancer. It also slows down the production and spread of cancer cells, and it helps helps in the differentiation of cells. Cancer cells are differentiated. And it prevents the formation of new blood vessels from existing ones. And this can help stop the progression of benign tumors and cancerous ones. So think about this. Did your doctor recommend that you take vitamin D? See, vitamin D can also help reduce the risk of other conditions. It's not just about cancer. It's not just about immune system. The studies find that type 2 diabetes, chronic inflammation, macular degeneration, the leading cause of blindness in the United States, Alzheimer's disease. Vitamin D also it has these amazing infection-fighting abilities. Just in something like tuberculosis, right? Pneumonia, colds, flu. But there's people out there that don't even know their vitamin D levels. It can improve seizures in epileptics. And when scientists refer to vitamin D as a vitamin, it's actually a steroid hormone obtained from the sun. Exposure, food sources, and supplementation. So there's a couple types of vitamin D. We're talking about vitamin D3, not D2. Vitamin D2 it's like vitamin D3 is like way more effective, but the problem is that we just are so insufficient with vitamin D. I mean, too many Americans are found to be in a deficient state, and over 95% of senior citizens in the United States are probably deficient, like averaging around 85% of Americans. Like the worst is in the winter, right? In the United States, the winter levels go down to 15 to 18 degrees, which is far below the level that causes rickets. Cases of vitamin D deficient are also seen more frequently in individuals that have increased skin pigmentation, like their skin's darker. Those who have ancestors that are from Africa, the Middle East, or South Asia. This deficiency also applies to people who often use sun protection, right? You put the sunscreen on there. Even those that spend time outdoors in the sun, outdoors. Regardless of skin pigmentation, deficiency can be even worse if you live up north, right? North of that Mason-Dixon line, as there's very little sun exposure. Occasional exposure of your hands and your face, it's not going to be enough to give you the appropriate sunlight exposure to be able to get your vitamin D levels. You have to have large portions of your skin that need to be exposed to the sun. However, overexposure to the sun, it's going to result in a sunburn, which can increase your risk for skin cancer and premature aging. So just make sense a little bit at a time. Make sure you check your vitamin D levels. Make sure you're taking vitamin D on a daily basis. Omega-3s. The many health benefits of omega-3s, wow, I just can't even count them. It rivals vitamin D for my first. Most important, but reducing inflammation, especially with people with different forms of arthritis, reduces stiffness and pain. Women that suffer from menstrual pain, studies have shown that they have milder menstrual pain, optimizes muscle building and bone strength. The fats also help your body to build healthy muscle mass, including people suffering with cancer who might experience wasting, or they would call it cachexia. Vitamin C fats also help you improve your bone strength by improving the utilization of calcium in your body. I mean, if you don't have the omega-3s or the vitamin D, you're going to get osteoporosis. I mean, it helps metabolic syndrome and insulin resistance, and it improves mental health and behavior. There's so many benefits out there. They've actually shown that if a kid has his omega-3 ratios right, it's going to help with hyperactivity and attention deficit disorder. It reduces aggression and hyperactivity and impulsivity and oppositional behavior and restlessness. Look, there's parents out there looking for a solution, and they don't even know what their kids' vitamin D levels like. Vitamin D is associated with lowered risk for neurological issues such as memory and brain aging and learning disorders and autism and dyslexia, and the list keeps on going on. And so when you got to protect your vision, because DHA is a major structural element in your eye and your brain. So when your DHA or the part of your omega-3 is low, you're going to have macular degeneration. So it also reduces your risk of kidney disease and colon cancer. There's so many things. So they actually did a recent study, and I thought was really interesting. They tracked several thousand people over an 11-year period of time, and they analyzed their omega-3 levels in the participants' blood. And they divided the study people into 4 groups. It's interesting. The first group that had high omega-3 levels but had never smoked. Then they had people with high omega-3 levels who did smoke. And then they have people with low omega-3 levels who didn't smoke. And then you have people with low omega-3 levels who actually did smoke. So when they got done looking at all their whole analysis, people with the high omega-3 levels in their blood who did not smoke obviously had the highest survival estimate. And then there was the people with the omega-3 levels who did smoke, and those with low omega-3 levels who did not smoke, and their survival was exactly the same. So the people that it's just as lethal to have low omega-3s as it is to smoke. And look, being a regular smoker will take about 4.5 years off of your life expectancy, the same as you gain if you have omega-3 acids in your body. So the other thing is that like adults who have high blood levels of omega-3, they're found to their overall mortality risk is lowered by as much as 27%. Think about that. And their risk from dying from heart disease goes down 35%. Now, the other thing is that when they start looking at like autoimmune issues, right? Individuals who had one or more servings of fatty fish per week, they had a 49% risk of like autoimmune diabetes compared to those who got less than a 1 weekly serving. So you lower your risk of diabetes by almost 40%. Most important thing is only eat cold water fish. That's where you get your omega-3s from. Your omega-3 should come from Alaskan salmon, wild caught, some sardines, anchovies, mackerel, the smaller fish, because the farm salmon is some of the most toxic food available, and you just should avoid it. Farm salmon, there's so many nutritional drawbacks. They contain only about half the omega-3s of wild salmon and 4 to 8 times less vitamin D, while having about 5.5 times, that's almost 500%, the amount of harmful omega-6s, which we're not going to talk about today. There was an interesting study also where they looked at, from the British Medical Journal, when they looked at vitamin D and omega-3s. And they found that you could actually lower your risk of developing an autoimmune disease, such as rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, thyroid disease, as you get older. So one of the key is that you want to make sure that all they did was take 2,000 units compared to a placebo. But look, I want you to understand that vitamin D supplementation is what they found is that it reduced your autoimmune risk by 22%. And that might seem low, but if you start adding all the benefits on there, it's just this massive thing there. You could actually, if you did it with the omegas with vitamin D, it actually reduced it by an additional 15%. So one of the things that when we start looking at like what is the key for supplementation, you want to have a plan. You just don't want to start taking this supplement for this and this supplement for this. You only supplement with what your body needs. The next one that I want to talk about is magnesium. Magnesium is another one of my favorites. Actually, it's one of my 5 essentials, one of my daily essentials. You need it to activate vitamin D. If you don't have it, you have anxiety and depression, heart disease, migraines, osteoporosis. And once again, I told you this earlier, 50% of the American population is deficient in magnesium, and a simple blood panel is probably not going to reveal that deficiency, as pretty much only 1% is available in your blood, and the rest of it is stored in your bones and your muscles. So researchers have found that magnesium is necessary for things like the heart and your kidney. It protects your arteries from actually getting calcification. It's probably more of an impact than cholesterol medication. It's also shown effectiveness in treatment or prevention of migraines and things like anxiety and depression. It is the 4th most abundant element in your body, and most people don't think about it. And it's one of the 7 essential minerals that you cannot live without. And I'm going to repeat that: you cannot live without it. It's absolutely necessary for the healthy functioning of your cells, especially your heart, like I said, your lungs, your kidney. Low level of magnesium, it's going to stop the metabolic function of your cells, and it's going to deteriorate and break down your mitochondria, which are the powerhouses which give life to your cells. Like I said, statistics show that like half of us are deficient in magnesium. So if you look to the right or to the left, if it's not you, it's somebody on the side of you. But they actually find that it's probably closer to 75 to 84%. 84% of postmenopausal women are deficient. Other scientists believe that the deficiency affects the vast majority of individuals, really because of their dietary habits. Also because we have things like chronic diseases, our medications, the decrease in food, and the magnesium in the soil. The refining and the processing of food destroys magnesium, and the vast majority of people in our society are, like I said, are at massive risk for magnesium deficiency. The problem is it's required for energy production. It's a cofactor in 300 enzyme systems that regulate the reactions in your body, including muscle and nerve and blood pressure regulation. It also helps regulate your blood vessels, It also helps prevent things like coronary artery disease. We talked about that. But more important, as we get older, we're prescribing these medications to prevent osteoporosis. You have to have magnesium to contribute to the structural development of your bone. And adult bone it's not calcium. It's nearly 60% of the total magnesium in your body is in your bone. So it's involved with bone formation, and if you don't have it, like I said, it's going to be that you'll turn into osteoporosis. Although the brain is about 2% of your body weight, it uses 20% of the oxygen supply in this metabolic process. But it's constantly working for like motor activities and mental changes. Magnesium is what allows the neural networks to work. It keeps that blood-brain barrier healthy so you can get the oxygen into your brain. Magnesium is essential for learning, right? It's essential for things like concentration, and it enables your brain's plasticity and its ability to adapt to challenges. Also, maintaining optimal levels of magnesium, they've proven effective in reducing the number of attacks, the number of like heart attacks, the number of days a month that you experience a migraine. It reduces anxiety disorders by up to 13%. So I think that if you've ever had a migraine, they're debilitating, like just other mental disorders. And, and so when you have low magnesium, it's going to increase levels of like noradrenaline, leading to higher rates of blood pressure and heart rate there. When your magnesium levels are normal, it's going to decrease the release of like ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone, which is responsible for the release of cortisol. So it lowers your cortisol and your stress hormone levels. Essentially, that means that the fewer stress hormones, and you're able to regulate your stress response better. Optimal levels are also inversely associated with anxiety and depression. So the higher magnesium, the less anxiety and depression. If you have vitamin D levels, they're going to help prevent like your vitamin D and magnesium levels that are normal. You're going to avoid dry eye syndrome, macular degeneration, neuro diseases, fractures, obesity. They'll also lower your mortality risk, like I said. However, without adequate levels of magnesium, vitamin D supplementation is probably ineffective, as magnesium, like I said earlier, is required for activation of vitamin D. And vitamin D can trigger vascular calcification like when it doesn't have the magnesium there. Higher levels of magnesium actually lower your risk of vitamin D deficiency by allowing the activation of the vitamin. So there's so many factors. Herbicides like glyphosate, they act as what are called agricultural chelators, and they effectively obstruct the uptake of minerals from the soil. So as a result, it might be super difficult to be able to find truly magnesium-rich foods. Cooking, processing further depletes magnesium, while certain foods may actually influence your body's absorption of magnesium. High levels of sugar may trigger an excretion of magnesium through your kidneys. So I think the main thing is this, is that your vitamin D, which is not even a vitamin, it's a hormone, it doesn't even get activated. There's so many things that magnesium has a role in there. But not just the cofactors and the enzymes, those are just the minimum. They literally are the shields for oxidative stress that make up our antioxidant system. They help us produce ATP and DNA and protein. So every function of your body is somewhat dependent on the minerals there. Your levels of antioxidants like glutathione are dependent on your magnesium and the conversion, like I said earlier, of vitamin D. This is the one that I hear a lot about, and most people, it's the B vitamins, right? Well, it's not. They're not a B vitamin. It's a group of 8 micronutrients that we call B vitamins, or a B complex vitamins, because it makes it possible for your body to use energy. These are water-soluble vitamins that your body requires for normal functioning because they're water-soluble. Your body doesn't store them, and any excess vitamin B you consume during the day is excreted in the urine. And this also means that you have to consume these vitamins each day to meet your body's requirements. They are micronutrients because you only need them in small quantities, yet they play a significant role in optimal health. Despite belonging to the same complex of vitamins, none of these vitamins are related. So while they're found in a variety of foods, certain factors might increase your need for B vitamins. These factors are things like your age, your dietary choices, your genetics, medication, liver disease, your alcohol use. The 8B vitamins and their functions, they include things like thiamine, which is related to glucose metabolism and nerve function, B2 riboflavin, which is metabolism, vision, skin health, niacin, skin health, carbohydrate and fat metabolism, nervous system, digestion, pantothenic acid, B5, metabolism, red blood cell, your steroid hormone production, B6, which is peroxidine, protein and carbohydrate metabolism, red blood cell production, creation of neurotransmitters and steroid hormones. What about biotin, B7, carbohydrate, fat metabolism, B9, which is folate, your kid's nervous system, DNA synthesis, cell growth, forming red blood cells, and B12, cobalamin, my favorite, neurologic function, mental ability, and red cell. They're neuroprotective. They lower depression, anxiety, lowering the potential risk of like when people have chemotherapy. It lowers the risk of like the damage to there. It helps support the cells. One factor that was really interesting during COVID that makes COVID-19 so dangerous for people with underlying medical conditions is that it overacts your immune system there and triggers what's called the cytokine storm. B vitamins play an incredibly important role in modulating that immune system and minimizing the risk. They also play these incredibly pivotal role in proper immune function. They assist in the activation of what's called your innate and your adaptive responses, as well as by reducing like a lot of these pro-inflammatory cytokines and stopping clotting or hypercoagulability. Like I said, they contribute to a healthy immune system, but what they found is that they could prevent or even reduce the severity of COVID-19. But where was anybody talking about this? So like I said, supports your immune system. So taking a B vitamin frequently is beneficial to your immune system, as various B vitamins help to boost immune function. Like I said, B6 and B9 are responsible for producing white blood cells. Those white blood cells fight off an infection. If you have a deficiency in folate, which is B9, it's also linked to increased risk of getting infections. Besides producing white blood cells, you have things like peroxidine, B6 is also needed for the production of antibodies that help to identify and neutralize viruses and bacteria. Your B vitamins are, like I said, they help boost your energy. They play incredibly important roles in energy production. Like vitamin B1 especially helps to convert carbohydrates into glucose for energy. Thiamine is also a coenzyme. Remember we talked about coenzymes that process carbohydrates and fats. So I always say it's always worthwhile to check your B vitamin levels. We check them when we do our metabolomics testing. B vitamin supplement can do absolutely wonders when it comes to fighting fatigue. It also promotes cell health. And of all the B vitamins, vitamin B6 and B12 are the ones responsible for helping cells to multiply. And this is really key because red blood cells have these short lifespans. So B6 is essential in cellular enzyme reactions in your body, producing proper growth and development of the nervous system. Also, we talked about it helps to maintain those red blood cells. It helps to balance out hemoglobin, preventing anemia, supports your blood sugar, B5 and B2 and B6. They're incredibly helpful when it maintaining those hemoglobin levels. Brain function. Remember I said these are your metabolic vitamins there. So you have B1, which produces energy from glucose, and this helps support the brain. Then acts as a source of, and then even acts as a source of fuel for brain activity. And then you have B6 and B9 and B12. They help to support brain function. So as you can see, your dopamine and your neurotransmitters, whether you feel certain emotions or satisfaction, folate builds the new neural pathways there. But last but not least, you have B12 cobalamin, which protects that myelin sheath that covers the nerve cells. The B vitamins, they support good digestion, like B9 aids digestion by breaking down proteins into amino acids so that they can be brought into your bloodstream. They repair tissues. You have B9 and 6 that support your system by processing proteins you eat. And B7 will break down carbohydrates. A normal appetite, like helps, like you have B1, which converts carbohydrates. B2, which is the production of enzymes for breaking down fats. Hormone production is incredibly important because if you don't have the hormones there, they improve proper nerve function. I always call them your nerve vitamins. They're essential. You have B1, for example, that produce acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter needed for muscle contraction and for your nervous system to function and to rebuild itself. B6 and 12, they're involved in producing myelin, which is like a fatty substance that protects the cells. And then the other thing is like they're massively important for cardiovascular health, reducing homocysteine levels there. But I think that the thing that I always think about is like most people won't do something just to prevent something, but if you're feeling fatigue and weakness and poor memory, you got muscle cramps, low blood pressure or high blood pressure issues, you should get. That's probably a sign that you have B vitamin issues. So I think one of the things that we're at a point right now where at our office we have what are called our daily essentials, and it's the one thing that I do on a daily basis. The daily essentials, they have your multivitamin, they have your omegas in there, they have your vitamin D, they have your magnesium, and they have your B vitamins in there. It's a foundational supplement, and we've done tens of thousands of tests to be able to see who is deficient in these, and we found that these were the things that a vast majority of people were deficient in. It doesn't mean that that's all you have to take, but if you're doing nothing, then I'm going to suggest that you take that you look at your daily essentials. You can, but the main thing I want you to understand is that they're very different. We have our Pure Path brand that we work with, and I want you to think about this. When you choose your supplements, you really want to choose pure. You deserve that peace of mind knowing that what you choose to put in your body is composed of simple, clean ingredients. You deserve a product you can count on. Pure Path is the promise is that it's a promise of quality ingredients. And it's dedicated to like enriching your life at each stage as we go through it with the purest supplements possible, from our pregnancy vitamins to our some of our male vitamins, our daily essentials for men or daily essentials for women. But I think what I want you to understand is from the moment the farmers harvest the ingredients to the second each product is encapsulated, we're considering the well-being of you, your family. That's why it's all about regenerative farming and renewing, because our approach to agriculture helps to have healthy soil, maximizing nutrient density. So we're confident about what we're putting into your body, and we're dedicated to delivering products at our office as close to nature as possible. We want you to live to your fullest, pain-free, disease-free, regret-free, by putting quality nutrients into your body. And with that, you don't have to worry about cheap fillers, artificial sweeteners, additives. They compromise the benefits. Each product is masterfully curated. It's put together. We have several non-negotiables on this. It's never artificial flavors, never any vegetable oils, never any additives or fillers, never any pesticides or herbicides. Each product is third-party tested. So hopefully that's the type of a product that you want. But the Daily Essentials is great because the food that we eat is different than our ancestors. Our Paleolithic ancestors hunted and gathered. And so, just to summarize, we got depleted topsoils. And that means the foods that we eat have fewer vitamins and minerals. People eat processed packaged foods and rather than cook their own meal. People eat conventionally grown crops which contain pesticides and antibiotics rather than organic foods which have more nutrients and toxins there. Sorry about that. It looks like I got a phone call on that one. but we don't get the right amount of nutrients like to be able to consume our health. Nutraceuticals is what I like to call supplements, and other lifestyle strategies can ensure your nutrient intake meets your health needs and your body functions. And these like packets, they're in little packets. They're easy to use. They're formulated for men. They're formulated for women. They're formulated for pregnant moms. They're designed specifically for each person. They have a B vitamin group, which is this, like I said, essential for metabolism and cognition and function and cardiovascular health. You have your vitamin D, which is with probiotics, which is like a 2-in-1 with the bones and skins and teeth, a healthy digestive system. Also included is our Optimal Omega, which provides like the perfect ratio of omega-3s to omega-6s, magnesium to support protein synthesis, muscle and nerve function and development, and energy production, and maintaining endurance and stamina with our daily essentials. It's designed to give a full spectrum of all the necessary nutrients that your body needs. Your B complex is delayed release. So you get a combination of B vitamins at their most absorbable form, where they're essential for proper metabolism. The B vitamins, they play like this interrelated role to cognitive health. This delayed release formula, it optimizes delivery in the body. You have your omegas, it's from a concentrated source of omega fatty acids. Like I said, the B vitamins, they give us a natural form of calcium absorption. So the first step to living a maximized life is understanding your own health. Our step-by-step plan that we have in the office provides you with all the tools you need to reach your unique lifestyle and wellness goals. Simply, good health for life. Maximized living simplifies the many complex options, helping you find your personal and natural health and wellness plan for life. We got our 5 Essential Plan, which is chiropractic care at the core, where your spine is your body's central information system, correcting spinal anomalies. In addition to core chiropractic, we have 4 other powerful essentials, which are unique, which is our unique approach, which is mindset, pure and simple nutrition, exercise, oxygen. We customize the right balance of each, so essential, so that you can align your health naturally and transforming your health today. So next time you're in the office, I want you to have a conversation with one of your doctors about the daily essentials. It's a simple box that looks just like this. And I'm going to suggest to you that you make an investment in yourself for life. This is the same thing that I give to my kids, the same thing that I take for myself and my family. My mom was on the daily essentials there. I only do it because I believe in it, because I believe it's the right thing. And if we can do one simple thing, then we can build onto the next thing. So if you do have any questions, just leave questions in the chat. I'll get back. I'll respond to those questions there. You can always get a hold of us at www.drtjosborne. That's drtjosborne.com. Or you can call the office if you have questions or you want to set up a consultation at 408-985-1111. Hey, it's been great spending time with you, and I just want to thank you for your trust and confidence. I'll never do anything to not deserve that. But look, we're on a mission to change lives, right? And to save lives. And in the process, we have to take action. And so this is just information that we've given you tonight, but information without action, well, it's just a waste of time. And so we just let's get a holy discontent for what we want out of this life, because there's so much more inside of you. Remember, you're doing better than you think.